All right, folks, the ACC came out with their 2022 media preseason projections, and, well, Boston College is projected to be near the bottom of the Atlantic. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe any of this is true, and I'll give you a little feel of where I think the conference is going on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so last week there was the ACC Kickoff, and the media goes down there. They make their votes and pick their projected finishing order of the conference. And as projected and as predicted, Boston College is near the bottom of the Atlantic. They were picked 6th in the Atlantic division. Clemson was the runaway winner in terms of votes. They had 1,080 points total, with 111 total first place win votes. Second was NC State with 44. Wake Forest was 3rd, Louisville 4th, Florida State 5th, and then behind Boston College is Syracuse. So let's just talk about the Atlantic first. We'll get into the Coastal and some of the other thoughts first. So Boston College, right now, the biggest question mark is that offensive line. And I get that. If you're a national guy looking at the Eagles and you're looking at the biggest issue each team has, there's a major concern when you have 5 brand new offensive linemen starting for a season, guys that haven't played together yet. That's a major worry, right? So I can get why they look like a more flawed team than teams like Louisville, who have, a great tight end, an offensive line that's been together at least a little bit. They hit the transfer portal hard. Teams like Clemson that are always filled with blue bloods. And, from a talent perspective, you have to have an elite game to beat them. You get that. And then you have a team like NC State, who probably has the best quarterback play right now in Devin Leary, their quarterback. So I get why Boston College is behind these teams. That being said, this seems like the perfect year. It's been a while since Boston College has been able to take these preseason projections and say, haha, and then outdo them by the end of the year. That used to happen all the time under Tom O'Brien and Jeff Jagodzinski. You'd go in and there would be good teams ready to go, and then they'd be 5th or 6th. They finished 3rd or 2nd in the conference, in a division. So I don't think this is out of the realm of possibilities, because when you look at the Eagles, yes, the offensive line is worrisome, but, and this is a big but here, I am not just going to easily say they can just fix this. If Boston College can get their offensive line to play at a decent level, they don't even need to be great. They're going to be good. This team is going to be good. It's not going to be a 6th place team, because Phil Dracovic is enough to get you going on the offense. He's got Zay Flowers and Jalen Gill. Zay Flowers, again, is another one they're sleeping on. Is probably one of the better wide receivers in the conference. I know there's some good ones. The kid from UVA, Josh Downs from UNC. There's some good ones. A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. I'm not going to trash these kids. I just think that Zay has his agility and big playmaking ability, especially when Dracovic is throwing him the ball, puts Boston College at a whole other level. And so I'm not asking for, and you don't even need it with Dracovic, to be there back there and to just, have a clean pocket every time. He's a quarterback that if there's a mistake, say, Ozzie Trapillo has an issue with a block, Dracovic is a quarterback that can get out of that. Right? He can use his legs to maneuver and do that. So the offensive line only needs to be serviceable for this team to take that next step. The other piece that you need to see is the defense. As I talked about at length last week, the defensive line needs to take a step up too. and they need to be able to get some pressure. And now Jeff Hafley, he was on the ACC podcast, or I think it's actually a Twitter space, so it's not a podcast, hosted by Andrea Adelson, usually by David Hale, but it was with Roddy Jones, called Well Actually, which, actually is ACCTUALOY. And they were talking about the pass rush with Jeff Hafley. And Hafley brought up a few different things I thought were interesting pieces of why the defense might get better. First of all, he said by the time the Georgia Tech game came along last year, Sheeta Salah was really coming along, and then he got hurt, and he thinks that he's going to have a big season. So Salah is my pick for my guy that I'm going to be completely wrong about this year. I've undersold so far on Josh DeBerry and Pat Garland. I've been dead wrong on both. I'm going to be dead wrong on Sheeta Salah this year. So he's one. And then he said as well that the middle of the lineup with Chibuzi and Nwuka back really changes the complexion of that defensive line, because he has the ability to get after it. Now, I'm not sure that that's enough, as much as Hafley wants to think it is, to get this defensive line to the next level. But it just needs to take a step up, because their rankings in pass rush was pretty bad. That was more worrisome. The rushing defense for BC is worrisome as well. But I put a lot of that on the fact that the offense just couldn't stay on the field. I think if Djokovic and that offense can keep going, the run defense won't get tired. They'll get better. That's not a big issue. So those two things, I think those are it's not that out of the realm of possibility that BC is going to finish higher than this. I see it. I don't agree with the hate on BC, because I think Dave DeGuglielmo will get that offensive line to a solid spot. There's too much talent there for them to be a train wreck this year and be a detriment for the Eagles. And I just think BC's better than some of these teams. Like Florida State, yeah, I know they got good athletes. I'm not a big fan of them. I think they could beat them. Louisville, they barely beat BC last year with Dennis Grosel. BC held on for a while. But a healthy Djokovic, I think they would have beat Louisville last year. So I think there's opportunities here for BC to finish higher than 6. And you know what? It's the preseason. It's fun. These things are stupid, right? They're all dumb. So that was just my thoughts on that. In a moment, I'm going to get into what I think about my projections for the ACC itself, where I think the conference is going to go, where I think the winner's going to be, and where the Coastal is going to go as well. You're going to hear my thoughts on that in just a moment. Now, LinkedIn is the place to be. As the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond in the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So again, we're talking ACC Media Day predictions, and it's and I think there's a reason to agree with a lot of what they have to say. When you got a team like Clemson, it's hard to not put them #1, because I think one of the storylines that's going to come out of the ACC this year is that defensive line that they have, between Murphy and Breezy and some of the other kids that they have on that defensive line. Clemson's going to have a defense that's going to be one of the best, if not the best in the country this year. And it's going to make it very hard for some of these other teams to move the ball. That being said, if I'm going to be put on the spot right now, if I was to pick the winner of the Atlantic, I'm not picking Clemson, because I still am not sold on their offense. If DJ Uiagalelei is going to be their quarterback, I still don't. I'm not. I need to see more out of him, because he was very disappointing last year. And yes, guys can grow, but he just looks so raw that I'm not sure he's going to be the answer for them. And they may go for their true freshman or redshirt freshman, Gabe Klubniak, who's a 5-star quarterback. If they go to him early, my projections change quick because he reminds me a lot of some of these elite quarterbacks that go through our conference, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. I hate bringing him up, but, guys like that, really good quarterbacks. And it could be a game changer for Clemson. If Dabo does not see what he needs to see quickly in DJ and goes to him quickly, goes to the youngster quicker, that team could be dangerous. And then I might think that. But I get this feeling, just listening to Dabo talk, and he brought DJ to the media days, that he's going to stick with him too long and that they're going to lose a game that they shouldn't lose. And that could be the difference between them winning the division and losing the division. Because my pick to win the Atlantic is not Boston College. I saw someone, I joked about it on Twitter that someone voted for BC to win the conference. And hey, I'm not poo-pooing on anyone who did that because, as a guy who covers it, I'd love to see it happen. And, they've got some pieces that make them a very exciting team. They're not my pick for this year, though. My pick is NC State. I think NC State's going to win the Atlantic. I think they're going to beat Clemson. And I think they're gonna possibly be they're gonna be a New Year's Six bowl team this year. They've got their all pro, all American, whatever you want to call it, linebacker Peyton Wilson coming back. I know he was out for almost all of last year, and I am sold on Devin Leary as their quarterback as one of the elites. I've said on Locked On ACC that I don't think he is NFL caliber. And I just don't think he does anything super elite, but he does so many things well that he could. And he could be good enough to win the conference. So my pick to win the conference is going to be NC State. And I'm not going to get into where I pick Boston College yet because I need to see some practice going on. I need to see where the Eagles are. And if you're a listener of Locked On Boston College, you're going to get a treat because I am going down to practices throughout most of August. And I'll get a chance to watch some of these practices and give you kind of hopefully, I don't know how much practice I'll get to watch, but it'll give me a better feel and more of an insider view of where the Eagles are at. Now, the Coastal it's always up for grabs, and I think it's even more so up for grabs between 3 teams this year. I think there's 3 teams to really watch for to win the Coastal. And that the big one, the one that everyone's going to be talking about is Miami. Now, Miami, they're the hot topic of this postseason. They have a new they've got their swagger back with, a new coach in Mario Cristobal. They surrounded him, with Josh Gaddis, the best offensive coordinator in the country. They got Kevin Steele from, he's got a ton of SEC backgrounds as their defensive coordinator. They've got positional coaches that are that are very talented. They nailed the transfer portal and they surrounded it around arguably one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country in Tyler Van Dyke. So there's a very good possibility that Miami is going to win the Coastal. And they're my pick. How many times have we joked about the U being back and every time it happens they fall flat on their face? I'm going to go ahead and really, go out there and say that they're back. They're very much back, and they're finally taking football seriously in Coral Gables, and that attention to how to make a good team back to an elite, legendary team, I think is going to really catch on. You're seeing it on the recruiting trail as they're starting to get, 5-star recruits that they haven't been able to get in the last 15, 20 years. It's going to really start to cycle for them. And I think this year is going to be the first big year for Miami. I like them to win it. And I think second place for me is Pitt. I know Pitt lost Jordan Addison. They lost Kenny Pickett, their quarterback, and they lost their offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, who just got run over by Pat Narduzzi at a press conference when he said that Whipple ran the ball too much or didn't run the ball enough. And so they have Frank Signetti, Boston College's former offensive coordinator. I think they're good enough for second. I don't think they're going to win it. They've got Keaton Slovis, their new quarterback, who's a transfer from USC. They're going to be an exciting team. I like the Coastal. Now, in our final segment, I'm going to give you my 2 picks, or I'll actually give you 3 picks for teams I think that are not going to be very good in the ACC this year. I'll give you my picks for 2 that are going to probably end up with new coaches, and we'll go from there. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. Funny thing, if you follow us, you can follow us on any social media account. We have Twitter at LockedOnBC or AJBlack_BC. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And I'd like to announce that we are now on TikTok. I know a lot of younger people, like, college students and such, use TikTok more than Twitter and stuff. So I wanted to reach out to get to build our audience. So if you are a TikTok user, just look up Locked On BC. I have our first video up on there. It's just a little quick thing. And I'm going to use it more often. I'll use little clips of the show, videos from when I'm at the games or at practice, things like that. Just little funny tidbits. You're going to like it. If you're not a TikTok user, super easy to use. I'm still learning it too. Just sign up and look up Locked On BC and follow us on there. So, we're looking at this media, the media rankings that came out today by the ACC media. Boston College finishing in 6th out of 7th, but with one first place vote, so you can't dismiss that, right? Well, who are the teams that I think are going to have a tough year? Because as much as the roses look rosy for a lot of programs in the ACC, and everyone's really, really happy about their quarterback or how their future looks, this is August. This is, optimism runs high at this point of the year, but things are not going to get that way for everybody. Something's going to happen, and I'm sure the ACC will lose a coach or two. And here are my 3 teams I think that are going to struggle. First of all is Duke. Duke plays Boston College, so that's a positive for the Eagles. I think Duke is going to have a real hard time this year because they don't have much left. Mike Elko, their new coach, I like a lot, and I think is a good fit for Duke. He's a defensive-minded coach on a program that hasn't had much offense since Daniel Jones left many moons ago. So I think this is going to be a rebuilding year for Duke. I don't think they're going to be very competitive. I think, they just got to kind of dig in and hope to build something there. I just don't think it'll be this year. So Duke is one team I'm not looking at as much of a competitor this year. Now the next two, actually I'll give you the next one because it's not a big of a shock, is Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is actually surprising. I've seen a lot of love for their quarterback, Jeff Sims, who we saw play against BC last year and didn't do all that well. I think this is the swan song for Jeff Collins. I think the Yellow Jackets have set themselves up with a brutal schedule that includes opening the season against Clemson. They get Ole Miss, UCF, Pitt, Duke, Virginia, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Miami, UNC, and Georgia. So they have potentially some of the best teams. I think they have the toughest schedule in the conference easily. And I'm looking at that schedule, and I don't see more than 3 wins for Georgia Tech. 3-9, I think, for them. And if they go 3-9 again, I know, you may want to say, okay, so maybe Collins just ran into a tough year. But next year, it's basically the same thing because Clemson is one of their their permanent opponents. So Georgia Tech is kind of screwed there. They need to do something. And if Jeff Collins can't get them wins or get them competitive, then you need to make a move. So I think Collins is gone after this year. I don't see Georgia Tech doing all that much. And I think it's going to be an end of the roads for the head coach of the Yellow Jackets. So that's one team. The other team I'm still not sold on is Syracuse. And I've seen some people, I saw a couple of the people I like following, I think it was Keith Wynn, who covers Louisville, saying that he really likes Syracuse. Sean Tucker is very good. Their running back is very good. And he is a game changer. He's to the level of like an A.J. Dillon, where he can break off a run at any point. He's incredibly hard to bring down. But that being said, I don't think there's enough around him to do much. And their defense is decent. They don't have a quarterback. Garrett Schrader, I know he did some stuff against BC last year, but BC was playing on one leg last year, so I don't really put that into consideration. I think this is going to be the end of the road for Dino Babers, and I think Syracuse is going to struggle this year. They could win some games with Tucker trying to control the clock, but when you have a running back like that against a conference that is loaded with quarterbacks that can move the ball a lot faster than he can run it, I just don't see them winning many of those games. So I think Syracuse is going to struggle this year. A team that there's a couple teams that I'm still kind of on the fence about, and I need to see what they look like. Florida State's one. I need to see where the culture is with that program, because I know they beat BC last year, and everyone's going to jump on me for that, but they still don't seem like the same Seminoles team that, you saw 15 years ago. And I need to see where they go with that. Louisville's another one. Everyone seems to love Malik Cunningham right now, and I don't see him as an elite quarterback, and I need to see why people think that. I see him as a great runner. He can make some throws here and there, but is he elite? We'll have to wait and see. So that's my thoughts. And as I said, later this summer, I will give you where I think Boston College is going to finish. I'll give you all my predictions. I'm probably going to have Mitch on, and we'll both talk about it together. But I'm not going to give it now. I don't want to give it now. That's for another conversation. I'm going to be going back to 5 days a week with you guys starting next week. So I need content to fill this, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of stuff to talk about, but I'm going to have a whole conversation about that closer to the Rutgers kickoff. And so this is AJ Black. Just some little quick news items as I'm recording this. Zach Yamuchi, the offensive lineman from Bishop Gorman in Nevada. He's a class of 2022 recruit. He just committed to Stanford. He had Boston College and Stanford as his last two. He just announced. I figured he was going to end up there. Name to watch for is Brandon Solis, another offensive lineman from Lipscomb Academy in Tennessee, another powerhouse program. He might be the one that they go for or land in the next recruiting class. So this is AJ Black. If you like me, follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can also enjoy my work at Eagle Insider. I'm the editor and publisher there. We go in there full time starting on August 1st. So I'm still balancing between SI and 247 until that date. On August 1st, you'll get to get all my content over there. So I hope you hit the subscribe button over there, become a member, and enjoy my work. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again soon.